How will the new iOS 14 privacy changes affect YouTube ads versus Facebook ads? That is one of the biggest questions that I'm getting asked right now. Is a lot of people know all the problems that are going to happen with Facebook ads when iOS 14 rolls out, but people are wondering what's going to happen on YouTube. What are the differences? What does everything look like? Well, that is what I want to cover in this video today. So first, let's talk about what the iOS 14 privacy changes are. So if you're not familiar, people who are running iOS 14, which is the majority of smartphones in America, people are on their iPhones, they have iOS 14. People who are on those smartphones are going to start getting a notification that asks them if they want people to track them. For instance, if you look here, Facebook to track you when you're using the Facebook application, or other applications as well that plug into Facebook. Now, the problem with that is Facebook ads rely on an algorithm in order to serve your ads. Now, this is going to have changes in terms of tracking for both Facebook ads and YouTube and Google. But the biggest problem that I have seen and the big difference between Facebook and YouTube is that Facebook itself is actually also going to run into problems when it comes to the results that you're getting. Now, you all know that Facebook lead costs are rising. They're going up and up. There's that huge roller coaster effect up and down in terms of the overall results, not to mention accounts being banned left and right. So we've talked about that before, but now iOS 14 is going to have insult to injury when it comes to Facebook ads. And the problem is with Facebook ads themselves, since it's all built on an algorithm, it relies on that third-party data it's getting from those other applications and the other apps that you're using in order to track all that data and serve targeted ads on Facebook, right? And so what iOS 14 is doing is it's inhibiting the data that Facebook can collect on you on the Facebook app, but also on other applications as well, which is the bigger blow, because what Facebook usually does is it takes all the data of all the different apps, all the different accounts that you use, and it uses that to build a picture of who you are and then serve you ads in the Facebook feed. Now, why is this going to impact Facebook more than Google? Because over on Google's side, it's not immune to this. It's also going to be impacted. You know, Google owns YouTube, so on the Google Ads platform, it's also going to be impacted by some of these tracking issues with other sites. And you know, if you're basically tracking those other sites over on Google and YouTube. But the difference is intent. And this is what you need to know about. This is what I want to talk about, is intent is why YouTube is going to survive and thrive during iOS 14's security, new security update, whereas Facebook is going to face some major challenges and advertisers are really going to start to see results start to dip. And the reason for this is how the ad platforms work and run. This is very important to understand. On Facebook ads, you are essentially targeting only based on the algorithm. So Facebook's taking all of that data from all of the different apps and targeting you based on an algorithm. We talked about this before. You know, you're swiping by and it's targeting you. It's not based on what you're looking at right now because you're not actually looking at anything right now on Facebook. You're just scrolling through. So it relies on all that third-party data and the algorithm to serve the right ads to you. And so what happens when iOS 14 harms Facebook's ability to collect all of that data from the other applications you use on your phone? Well, it can't serve those ads as effectively, and then your return on ad spend is going to drop, your performance is going to drop in an already very red ocean marketplace of Facebook. So lead costs go up, accounts are getting banned, and performance is going to drop because you're not actually able to be on the other sites. Now, when it comes to YouTube, right? It is, again, it's not immune. There are still those tracking issues on other sites. If Google, has their code installed on other sites, it's going to have some of those similar issues Facebook has. But Google has a moat, right, that is built in, and the way that the Google YouTube Ads platform, so we'll talk about YouTube Ads specifically, works, lends itself very well to this because YouTube does not rely on an algorithm built on third-party applications. YouTube relies on what videos you're watching right now on the platform. Intent. So YouTube can still tell because you're actively watching that video that if you're watching a video about how to lose weight, that you can run an ad in front of them with a fitness, weight loss, nutrition style offer. If you're watching a video on how to get leads or sales, you can run a video in front of that. A coaching Tony Robbins video, you can run a coaching ad in front of that, right? And so you can still do that because it's all within the YouTube ecosystem. Remember, what is happening here is iOS 14 is limiting the tracking from other platforms and all the data it can send back into Facebook and into Google. Now, this is going to impact both of them in terms of the data that these platforms can get, but Facebook almost exclusively relies on this data in order to build the profile of who you are, because remember, they're not showing the ads in front of a video. You're not searching anything on Facebook. They're just popping up in your feed. So what happens if they can't accurately target you because they don't have all of that same information? Versus on YouTube, you still have the ability to run your ads directly in front of those videos. And so, well, different platforms are going to have different effects. And again, I'm not saying that Google and YouTube is immune. It is a lot safer to run ads with an intent-based strategy when iOS 14 and Apple is doing these things in order to harm all of the third-party tracking that can be installed in other applications, right? So the tracking is going to be harmed, but who is going to actually suffer more? It's Facebook, because they rely more on tracking than YouTube and Google does. YouTube and Google focuses, and again, it does have those degrees, right, that can be built in. It can target people based on sites they've been on, apps they've used, but the big part of YouTube is the videos you're watching and running your ads in front of those videos. And that intent, one of the reasons that YouTube ads convert so well and get such great results, is one of the things that is absolutely going to save and help YouTube not just survive, but thrive during these changes. And so right now is the time. We've already seen it. We are getting an influx of new clients coming to us right now that are leaving Facebook. They're coming over to YouTube because they see the writing on the wall. Higher lead costs combined with random account bans, which even if you can get it back, is a huge pain for a couple weeks where you're trying to solve this and you're appealing, or maybe you have to restart everything from scratch, versus over on Google, getting your ads up and running, actually getting strong returns in a blue ocean, and with iOS 14 being less impacted on YouTube than Facebook. So hopefully this makes sense. If you have to rewatch this video, feel free to do that as well, because I really wanted to dive into what those big differences are. Now, I will say, right, we aren't sure exactly how all of the different components are going to roll out, but this is the difference between intent and a platform that's based purely on an algorithm. This is why Facebook is freaking out and why advertisers right now are scared, is because they know that Facebook relies on all that third-party data that Apple is threatening to cut off. That's why Facebook's taking out these huge ads in the paper, and Facebook's having this huge campaign to try and reverse this, whereas Google and YouTube, they know, yes, they're gonna miss out on some of their data. But Google and YouTube can run ads in front of specific videos because it's on the YouTube app itself, and it's the actual video you're running your ad in front of. It doesn't rely on third-party data to know the video you're watching right now. So that's why YouTube's gonna thrive. If you wanna learn how to set up YouTube ads for your own business, go to adoutreach.com/apply, schedule a strategy call with our team. Right now, we are still in the blue ocean golden era of YouTube ads. We're still in the early majority, but I can see, the tides shifting quickly and people coming over to YouTube. So you want to be one of the first people to get in if you want to actually set up your campaigns so that you can get ahead of this instead of just waiting for Facebook to harm your business and having a few bad months before you say, you know what, it's finally time to switch to YouTube. You should get ahead of this and switch to YouTube now. Go to adoutreach.com/apply. And remember, instead of having that long learning curve, work with us and we're gonna help you set it up hands-on to implement YouTube ads in the best way possible, just like we have for thousands of other clients, so you can use YouTube ads to scale and grow your business. I'll see you there.